Today we're going to talk about shipping code while you sleep. This isn't just going to be a high-level introduction. We're actually going to download and run and open up a pull request. We're going to go from talking about what is Ralph Wiggum all the way to getting a pull request created, opened, and reviewed using the Ralph Wiggum method. If you haven't already heard of what Ralph Wiggum is, let's do a quick intro on that before we dive in. I heard about it yesterday from this guy, Matt Pockett, and I watched their 60-minute video on it. And from there, I went directly to the Claude Code plugin. Claude Code has a Ralph Wiggum plugin, and I was able to use that plugin, and it worked decently well. It was also my first time using Claude Code yesterday. And that linked me over to the blog where this is the source where everybody's referencing Ralph Wiggum. Came out on the 14th of July. In the most simply put form, Ralph is a technique. In its purest form, Ralph is a bash loop. It's just a bash loop. It can replace the majority of outsourcing in most companies for greenfield projects. It has defects, but these are identifiable and resolvable through various styles of prompts. So the big theme right now, let me see if I reposted it, is that we were going really, really advanced. Yeah. How it started is we had swarms, orchestrators, agent meshes, multi-agent frameworks, hierarchical agent systems, and agent-to-agent protocols. And where we are now is a very simple method that doesn't use any tools other than reading and writing to files and running bash scripts. And it just continues to attempt to address the task until it finishes the task. It doesn't exit early, and it stays and persists in its behavior. So yesterday I used Claude Code. It was pretty good. And then today I was sent Ralph Loop Agent from Vercel, which came out yesterday in the afternoon. It is a Ralph implementation for the AI SDK by Vercel. I am a big fan of Vercel. I'm a big fan of the AI. I have not tried this yet and around how to use it, and I thought, well, let me just go live and show this process. So one, it pushes me forward to be able to do something and experiment and not just read the docs and continue to think. And it will also give me a chance, if I live stream it, to make this a canonical source of how to use Ralph Loop Agent, how to get it set up for other people to use. So on this today, let's do one last little looking at what is this and how is it structured by Vercel to understand more. So the progression so far of this Ralph Wiggum meta that's been talking about from my perspective is, first, this article came out in July from Jeffrey Huntley talking about Ralph Wiggum as a software engineer. After that, Claude Code came out with an official plugin to kind of unify everybody building out the divergent practices into one unified tool. And now we have Vercel coming out with their implementation of the Ralph Wiggum method. And so we're starting to see the bigger players and feel like, okay, this is a method that all of the major AI players are using. Ralph Wiggum for Claude Code was just a simpler tool, and it's a command line tool that you use inside of Claude Code. Meanwhile, the Vercel implementation is a package that is the Ralph Loop Agent, and it is a CLI. Today, I will be specifically looking at the CLI, but we'll take a look at the Ralph Loop Agent because I still don't fully understand where I would use the Ralph Loop Agent, but I want to talk about it so that I can continue to think about how. This is the first time I'm seeing an implementation of the tool loop agent or another agent that's not the tool loop agent from the Vercel team. Ralph Loop Agent is similar to the tool looping agent, which is a part of AI SDK v6. And it allows you to define an agent, and then you can call methods on that agent like loop, stream, generate, etc. It looks like loop is used instead of stream. I don't think there is, instead of generate. There is a stream. I don't think there's a generate command. So there's no generate command. There is just a stream, and there is a loop. And I have a feeling what that means is the loop is the replacement of the generate function, and the loop just runs it in the background and then gives you the response, whereas the stream is great if you want to observe what's going on, and it will constantly give you outputs, chunks of output as it's processing. Again, we're not going to be using this today because this is going to be in, I consider this more of like a chat type interface or JavaScript code, and what I want to be doing is CLI based that's going to allow it to be more flexible across any environment I use, not just JavaScript. Bash will allow me to write for Python, for Solidity, for Node.js, for TypeScript in any environment. I'll just be able to use this locally. And is what I want to do today, is install. So let's jump into the coding portion. So what I'll do is I think I'm just going to go to this project overall and I'm going to install it. The sun's starting to come out and it's cooking on my computer. So I'm going to quickly flip off my camera and raise up this umbrella so that I can protect myself from the sun. 1 second. Okay, that was easy. Now we should be a little bit more protected from that sunshine. Okay, where were we? Going back to sharing our screen. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to download the Ralph tool agent just to get an understanding of what it does. Open up your command line of choice, change your directory to wherever you want to install it. In this case, I'm doing it as part of my Recoup research, so I will install it here with git clone, paste that URL, and let's see if it has, so it's got an npm install. I don't think we want that. I'll read this as well. The Ralph Wiggum technique is a development methodology built around continuous AI agent loops. At its core, it's elegantly simple. Keep feeding an AI agent a task until the job is done. As Jeffrey Huntley, that article that we already reviewed, describes it, Ralph is a bash loop. Named after the lovably persistent Ralph Wiggum from The Simpsons, this approach embraces iterative improvement over single-shot perfection. Where traditional agentic workflows stop when an LLM finishes calling tools, Ralph keeps going, verifying completion, providing feedback, and running another iteration until the task actually succeeds. Think of it as a while true loop for AI autonomy. The agent works, an evaluator checks the results, and if it's not done, the agent tries again with F's. So the loop, you got an outer loop, and then you got an inner loop of the calls. Then it verifies, is it done? No, it loops again the iteration. Yes, it returns back the final results. This is great for verification, persistence, feedback loops, and long-running tasks. Okay, let's see if we're all done installing. It looks like we are. We should now have a directory for Ralph loop agent. Let's cd into Ralph loop agent, and let's run cursor./ to open this up and take a look at what's going on inside. So the thing I want to do now is figure out what is the simplest way for me to run this for the first time. I've never run it before. I want to run it. What do I need to do in order to, I thought I just opened it. Here we are, Ralph agent loop. Let's move it over here. Okay. Close out of all this stuff. And here is that repository. I don't like reading the markdown like this. I would prefer to see it fully rendered in the fully rendered HTML. So there's migration with tools, streaming, reference, verifying completion. And so what I want to do is go into the CLI example and see how the CLI example would be used. General purpose autonomous coding agent for long running tasks, usage, PNPM CLI, path to the project, interactive plan mode, PNPM CLI. So let's just try running this and see what happens. I'm already inside of the project. So let's run CLI index. It's not here. Examples. Nope, examples. Index.ts, I think. Let me see if I can copy that relative path. It would be in equals CLI index. Copy the run. Let's try using the relative path to see if that does it. Command CLI is not found. Okay. So it looks like I'm missing CLI. Try PNPM I here to see if installing the packages here helps me. Okay, it's still saying CLI is not found. Let me try changing the directory into examples CLI. Let's try it here. Do we have another package? We have another package here, so let's go. MI. Yeah, it's not giving me setup instructions for this. So we'll keep. Okay, this time it looks like it works. So I just needed to call pnpm CLI inside of the correct repository. Now I saw that they had this GitHub mode, and so let me try the GitHub mode. Clones the repo, runs, executes. So let me try that. We're going to take this, and then I should be able to use I think there's a prompt.md. If no prompt.md exists, it'll go into plan mode. Let's try the plan mode first, and then we'll try using prompt. So we're going to use GitHub mode just to make it a little bit easier on me. I'll do pnpm CLI, and now let's take the GitHub repository I want to modify, which is going to be, in this case, recoupable. What's the task I want to do? Linear. Let's take a second and plan out the tasks that we do. I want to fix the reply AI filter, and I also want to refactor hi to agent. Excuse me. So inside of here, we've got our email client, and this is the broader task that I'm working on. We want to replace, we want to forward. This one's been done. Okay, these are both of the tasks. The most important one is this one. So let's try update CC filter. If same address in both CC and 2, assume only CC. Priority response. If only in 2, increase likelihood of response required. That looks good. So let's take this, and we want the GitHub repository. In this case, that's going to be Recoup API. So I'll take this URL, paste it, and now with this, let me see if this is right. I'll refresh the page. It is correct. And now with this, what we will do is continue to follow the example. We put in the GitHub link, and now we need to put in quotes what we want. And so for now, I'm just going to copy the ticket name, put in some quotes, paste that, and let's see what happens. Modules not found. Cannot find module. Node modules. Okay, so it looks like it's missing a distribution folder. Maybe I need to run pnpm build. Let me check if there is a build command inside of the package. There's a CLI there. Type check. Okay. Something is missing from node modules. Ralph looping agent has node modules here, and inside of those node modules, we need Ralph loop agent dist index. Ralph loop agent, I agree, I don't see a dist in here. So how do we get a dist in there? My first thought is let's delete the node modules. Let's delete both node modules, and let's try that installation again. And I'm also going to remove any package pnpm lock files. Let's try installing the packages again to see if that fixes it. Scoping all 3 workspaces, it's downloading stuff. Okay, it looks like it installed a bunch of things inside of the CLI. Ralph loop agent. I still don't see, is it in node modules inside of here? I don't think so. I think we're still missing that dist folder it was asking me for. Yeah, we're still missing a dist. It needs us to have a distribution folder, which I'm not seeing anywhere over here. Inside of our package, is there a, there's a build command out here. So let me try going up a directory. pnpm build up here. It's now running a build. Okay, we now have a build. Let's refresh all of our files. I still don't see a distribute. Here it is. There's a distribute. And now inside of CLI, node modules, Ralph, and now I see a distribute folder. Let's try it again. Oh, I'm in the wrong folder. We need to go back into example CLI, and now we'll try running this again. Okay, awesome. So now I'm missing my environment variables. Sandbox Vercel token, sandbox team ID. Let me see, is there a environment file? There they are. And we'll make a new file in here called .env. And inside of here, I'll paste these. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add each of these in. Obviously, this is something I don't want to share, so I'm going to stop sharing. And now I'm going to find my Vercel token by going over to Vercel instead of my organization. There's an AI Gateway tab where I believe I get my Vercel token. It's not telling me specifically where I get those, so I'm making an assumption here that this is what I do. Going into the AI Gateway, go to API keys, and now I'm gonna create a new key called delete Sweetman local Ralph local. Create that key. I don't think this is the right key. I don't think this is what we need. We need a Vercel token, a team ID, and a project ID. So now I'm going to try going into the team settings. I have a team name. I have a team URL. There, I found our team ID. That's what I needed. And now I need a project ID. Projects. I'm going to go back to my overview. What's the project we want? I'll add a new project called Ralph Sandbox. Ralph Sandbox. I'll just use one of our junk projects that we don't use anymore. Go to the settings in that project. I have a project ID here, so I'll copy that project ID, save that. Now my only question is, where do I get the Vercel token? Where do I get a Vercel token? Where do I get a Vercel token? Okay, like I can go to the account tokens page and just make sure that I'm in my recoupable account. Okay, it looks like I need to be in my personal account to generate an access token. So the access token is from my personal account, the team ID is the team I'm working under, and the project is the project. All three of those are important context to have. So I've got my tokens. I'm going to make a new token called Ralph Agent Loop. Scope is going to be Recoup's project. Expiration is no expiration. Token will never expire. Yep, I know. Copy that token. Put that token inside of my env file. I'm going to close my env. And let's try closing out of these anywhere where I might have something open. And now we'll go back and try this again. So share screen. Let's try running it again. I'll just hit up on my keyboard, trying to this CLI command. Last blocker we had was we didn't have the variables. This time it is not showing any sort of errors. Looks like it's starting, so I'll say yes, start the agent. It's created a sandbox. It's got a dev server. Let me see what this dev server is. Nothing's here for the dev server, at least that I can see. And it looks like Ralph is running. I am now realizing I should have probably put the project I'm working on as my sandbox project ID. But this is Ralph running now. So let's watch this for a while and see if how long it takes and if it's able to get up to a pull request being written. Yeah, it looks like it was missing stuff. I'm wondering if it was missing stuff because is it missing environment variables? In what a question that's emerging from what key is being read from, or how do I add an API key that is required to do this task inside of Ralph Wiggum? Copying changes back to local. My thought is I want to add AI gateway into my local EMVs. So I'll do that now. I'll stop sharing, and then I will I'll get that environment set. Stop sharing again. I'll open up a new tab with Vercel. Go to the Coupable org where I want to use them for their AI gateway credits. Come back to AI gateway. And from here, I'll go back to API keys. I'm going to delete that new key I just made because I didn't save it anywhere. Now I'm going to make a new key with the same name. And now it told me what the name of the variable is and my value. I copy that, save that, close that. I've saved the key, and now I can close back out of Vercel, and let's share screen again. Now that I'm sharing screen, let's try to run it again. Cloning the repo. Yep, start the agent. Copying the project files into the sandbox. Installing dependencies. So it seems like every time we start up it creates a new sandbox, and then it starts to run it inside of that sandbox. we got the same dev server URL. It's now on iteration 1. Last time this was where we got our error. I'm no longer seeing that error, so now it seems like it is actually doing its first iteration. Probably took 30 seconds until it started the task, and now it is working on that task. It's going into the CC, into the emails. It's reading a whole bunch of files. It's trying to understand the project. It's finding my email reply agents. So it looks like it's narrowing in. Again, the task that we're trying to run is updating our CC. We've got this CC filter. While it's running, I guess I'll show you what it is we're modifying. So inside of, I have the wrong repo open. Do I already have the API repo open somewhere? I do. Okay. So inside of, I don't need this anymore. We have this validate CC reply expected. And inside of here, we are checking should reply to CC email. And it's giving us false negatives where it is choosing to not reply when we expect it to reply. The reason for that is for some reason resend, when we CC someone on an email, what we get is that the to and the CC both include that email for some reason, even though we've only thrown them on CC. And so far, we're not weighing in any different between to and CC because CC emails are also included in the array. What I want it to do, what change is that we want, is that this should reply is weighing heavier if the to and CC both include the recoup email address. It should that it's only CC. If it's only in the to array, we should think this is a higher priority. If you're addressing an email directly to me, we should always be replying to that. So let's see if it's able to reply or if it's able to implement this task. It looks like we just got a couple of edits. So we have edited the create email reply agent, which is right here. So it should have hopefully modified these instructions. And then it's updating the unit tests. And now the task was marked as complete. It cost us about 30 cents in model fees to do that token or to do that task. Now it's reviewing to determine if the task is complete or not. So it mentioned that it had installed the code locally. I'm curious to see, so inside of tasks, yeah, it looks like we have 2 different timestamps, and in each timestamp it contains the entire code base. It's a lot. Ideally, it's able to delete and clean up after itself so that we're not constantly cloning. Summary. Task complete, update the logic. If the same address in both, treat as CC only, lower chance for response. The agent will only return true if directly addressed by name. If only to, not CC, higher likelihood of response required. The agent will return true if the email asks a question or requests help or expects any response. In order, explicitly don't reply false. Explicit recoup reply, true. Address in both to and CC, treat as CC. Address in to only, higher likelihood. Help requests, expected responses only in CC, return true only if directly addressed. When in doubt, false. Added 2 new test cases, and now it's copying the changes back locally. Right now I'm thinking I want to change this rule. I want to make it so that if it's only 2, we should always reply and just skip this. If it's 2 and CC, we should treat it as validation logic is required. It looks like we were unable to create the PR. One uncommitted change. Let's check what has happened. Okay, so it did say that it pushed to origin. So let's check out if we do have, here we go, we got a new task, or a new pull request in Recoup API. We'll open it up into test. Create the pull request. We've got 2 files changed. And then we've got our unit tests. Those unit tests should be run in our checks. Or maybe it's only going to run in pull request to main. But now I want it to if same address, assume only CC. Run. So yeah, I'm going to change this to be that. If same address, assume only CC. So we should reply to email. If only to, not CC, skip the call to, should reply. We should reply if recoup email is only in CC, is only in to, not CC. Let's see what that does. So we're now running the same thing again, starting back at 0. I'm assuming it's going to clone it from main. Start in. Now it's going to create its sandbox. Let's check in with the time and measure the amount of time that passes. So the current time in the video is 34:16, or if we use real time at 12:48, we'll use real time of 12:48. And actually, I can just start a stopwatch. Stopwatch. There we go. We got a stopwatch. How long does it take to just set up the environment? Because I'm comparing this to Cursor, and with Cursor, I iterate pretty quickly. We have just started the iteration, and it has been 23 seconds, so it was half a minute before it started building. And now it's going into analysis mode, and it's iterating. And I think in here it would have then cloned another version of the package. Yep, we've got a whole nother version. So we're still doing net new versions of the repo, which is going to fill this up pretty quickly. Now, an easy way for me to overcome this is going to be I reference the project locally instead of using a GitHub URL, because URL is going to download it. What I could have done is I could have referenced the project that it had already downloaded. So that's an interesting distinction of whatever path I pass in is going to determine where it's starting from. So if I decide I want to start from main, maybe we clone from GitHub. If we want to start and continue to build off the work it's already done, maybe we pass in what the local file path, like this one. That way it builds on the code that it already wrote. Looks like it's starting to make those edits. The same files should be changed. They'll just get changed in a slightly different way. It ran the unit tests. I do like that it added or edited unit tests. It's going to be great if every time we make a code change in our API, we also get a corresponding set of unit tests. That way, future work can be validated that this code does work. We've tested it. We've written tests for it. Those tests get run every time a unit pull request is opened, and any time a Ralph Wiggum loop runs again, we verify that the tests run like it did right there. Task was marked as complete, and it was 34 cents, so a little bit more expensive. Reviewing the results again, and we should get a summary soon. So currently, I'm spending less than 50 cents per task per iteration. Which means if I want to do 10 tasks a day and each task I take 3 iterations on, that's 30 iterations, 30 times 30 cents. What does that come out to? Let's try 30 times 30 is going to come out to 900. If I make this 30 times 0.30, that way it's 30 times 30. I think we get $9. We get $9. So that would be $9 a day for me to run a Ralph Wiggum loop like this. Comparing that to a normal dev, that's great. If this actually works and I can get a full backlog of a day and I plan it out and then it goes through and implements it all, awesome. If it's still going to require a lot of hand-holding from me, I don't know if it's any better than Cursor in that case. So we'll see outputting the results and what it looks like. And I have a feeling with me working on it back and forth, it'll be able to go smoother. I'm still in the zone of trying to understand. I don't know if I'm sold yet that Ralph Wiggum is a better practice than what I do for me as an experienced developer. Maybe it's better for a younger dev who needs more of the AI to step in for revisions, iterations, not breaking out of the loop, etc. I am very used to working very tightly with the AI, not in this model of I give it a task, I walk away, I do other stuff, and then I come back and the task is finished. But maybe that's where I want to be moving. So that's why I'm trying out this Ralph Wiggum meta to try to experience it instead of just theorize. Task completed. We added the contains email helper function, checks if any email address in the array contains the recoup email domain. We updated the logic. If recoup is only in 2, skip the LLM call and always return, always reply. If it is CC only, call it, use the LLM to determine. If it's in both, treat it as the CC case, so call to determine. That sounds perfect. Updated the test, rewrote the test suite to cover all 3 scenarios. Email only in the 2, email only in CC, and email in both. All tests are passing. Jury verdict, all verification checks pass. We got TypeScript compilation. We've got all 9. The implementation correctly addresses the task requirement. The code includes that. And we should now have a pull request. It's now copying the changes, and then we should get a pull request. Okay, we've got a new branch, and now it's opening up the pull request, and then again it is failing to make that pull request. I don't know why. Let me try running it myself. Okay, so it's telling me that we can't do it. So took 6 minutes. 6 minutes to complete the task. Let's go back and see if another pull request opened. We got a new branch. We open up this pull request instead of with main, with test. And let's see if this works better. Let's check what it changed. We've got our unit tests. When recoup email is only in the 2, skips the agent call. And then we expect the generate not to have been called, and we expect the result to be null. Handles multiple 2 addresses. We've got multiple 2s, one of them being a recoup email. We expect the generate not to have been called, and we also expect the result to be null, same result. Now, when recoup is only in CC, we call the agent to determine if a reply is expected, and then we expect the mock generate to have been called precisely once. Returns null when the agent returns should reply true. We've got recoup as a CC. Expect the result to be null. Returns response when agent returns should reply false. This time we're mocking a false. We pass in the same data. And this time we expect the result not to be null. We also expect the result to be defined. When recoup emails both into CC, treats it as a CC as an agent call. And then we expect it to have been called once. And we also want it to be null. And we don't expect it to reply. All looks good. Recoup domain. I think this already exists somewhere in the code base, so I want to verify that. No, we do not. So we don't have a shared variable for that yet. So it made one. I don't like that it made it directly inside of this file. So what I'm going to do is now I'm going to manually go in and move this inside of cursor. Because the Ralph loop does not give me, well, okay. I'm wondering how can I iterate on the changes Ralph made on the same branch. If I'm on a branch and I want Ralph to continue building off of those changes and then to push it to the same branch, how do I do that? Let's try doing the local stuff. Let's go back into Ralph loop agent. The latest one down here should be what we want. And so now let's try running it again. Instead of CLI that, let's go CLI/examples. Examples. Let me just copy the relative path. And now the task I want is going to be How do I make sure we're on the correct branch? I'm not going to question that for now. Let's just try to get the change that I want. Move recoup email domain to shared const file and replace any usage of the string with the new variable, the new shared variable. Let's see what happens there. Create it, go ahead. Installing stuff, so now doing it again. It's raining over here. Just started raining. So every time I want to do something, it's got to go and set up a new sandbox. So ideally, we give it longer running tasks, or we give it more instructions. That way it is able to do more work. Should not have written that. Should have already existed. We don't want libsharedindex.ts. So far, I'm not liking how it's doing, liking my ability to come in and guide it. This method does not, and then we spent 18 cents on something that was pretty small. So this is making me really question, how can a dev that has opinions control or guide the output of Ralph? Because right now it feels like the iteration is slow between me and my code requests. I would have done this pretty quickly in Cursor. Would have just gone back down to Cursor. It's already checked out to the right branch. I give it the feedback, and then I push the change. This is feeling like it costs more, it takes longer, and I'm probably going to throw my hands up and be like, it's okay if it doesn't follow my coding practices, because so this time it saved the changes locally instead of opening them up in the new branch, which is interesting. Let's see what's going on over here inside of the CLI. Does it have our Git file? Looks like it might have our Git set up, so let's try it. Let's go into cd tasks. The 3847 Git status. Okay. This is the same one I to start, right? Nothing added to commit but unchecked files. Use git add, git push, origin, yada yada. Is it going to give me any changes? Everything's already up to date, which makes me think it didn't actually make any changes here. So if it didn't, where are the changes it made? Here's a summary. Sandbox closed, changes saved, copied 3 files back to local. I'm not seeing any of those files. So let me try to find this. I'm not seeing it anywhere in this code base. So it makes me feel like it's hallucinating. Yeah, I'm not feeling config loop currently, at least in how I code. So I'm going to take this how I would usually do it, which is I copy my branch name. I go into cursor. I check out my branch. Let's undo these. Let's pull from main. And now I'll do the same. I'll just take that same node I made. Let's try this. Command Shift B. How do I get the chat? That's what I want. Okay. This with Ralph Wiggum, it would take us seconds just to get set up before it even starts doing this, and in cursor it just starts right away. So we don't need that whole sandbox setup. It's just going to work a little bit faster locally. And now it's using the correct const file. And now it's importing a shared variable. And then we're also using it in other places where that domain is used. As well as inside of the validation. So inside of our const, we moved the domain over there. I think it's always including the @ so I think we actually want to update the const to include the @. Let's see if there's anywhere where it's not appending an @ These cases it's appending an @ update to include @ prefix. That should help us follow the dry principle of not repeating that @ symbol everywhere it's being used. And after that, I should hopefully be ready to actually test this, because so far I'm just reviewing the code and I haven't actually tested it yet. My current thought is the Ralph Wiggum loop is not helpful for maintaining clean code bases or well-written or opinionated code. If you don't care where code's put, if you don't care if it follows your encoding practices, great, let it run. Greenfield project, awesome. Big refactor, sure. But if you have a precise task you want completed and you know how you want your code structured, I'm not sure it's the best solution. Const now includes the @ Yep, that's looking better. Get from with name is now all on. Using recoup, using the shared const. Validate function as well. Definitely need to move this. So I'll copy this over here. SR. I really just like how fast my iteration is between I have something I want to change. I put it over here and then it does the thing. SRP. lib email. Is it email or emails? Emails / contains recoup email. And then our unit tests are likely going to be fine. This all looks great. Add in those unit tests. We've now got a new file for the contain recoup email lib. And now we're importing that lib. Looking great over here. SRP contain, well, actually, I have been liking the auto generation of commits. There it is. Sync the changes. Let's go back to reviewing. Let's refresh. Recoup domain, how am I doing on time? I think I have a meeting in 20 minutes. Yeah, I've got a meeting in 20 minutes. So make sure I don't miss that. It's only in 2, skip the call and return null. Handles multiple 2. I believe we've already read through this, so I'm going to just skim. Get from name. This is updating to follow the dry principle to not repeat code that we have already written elsewhere. Looks good for the validation logic. Recoup contains recoup email, that looks good. And then our const has const. This all looks good. The only step left is to test it. We will test it by going to the preview, take in the preview, and now we'll go over to resend where I have my webhook. Okay, we go to edit. Save it. Now let's go over to our mail. Compose an email to Sharon. Reply, hello world, something that maybe you wouldn't reply to. We'll send that, and now we'll do another one where it will be in CC Sharon, and the 2 is going to be myself. And then the subject will be don't reply, don't reply. Hey, sweets, what are your lunch plans today? Send that off. We should not get a reply to that one. And now I'm going to do one more with the subject of reply. And this time it's going to be voice first, or myself, Sweetman Tech. And then we'll also do a CC of Sharon. Recoup. Let's loop recoup in to get their thoughts on the best way to earn a Grammy. Okay. So for the first one, when we sent it directly to a response from Sharon, we got the hello world list of things you can do. That's as expected. We got a reply directly when it's in a 2. Don't reply. We still haven't gotten a response yet from Sharon. it showed up in my inbox because I sent it to myself, but Sharon has not replied. The LLM filter is properly not replying when it isn't directly being addressed. This one over here, let's loop recoup in. I expect a response here. The question is, will it do it? Was I explicit enough? Are the rules clear enough to be able to? Oh, it looks like we did just get a response. Let's be surgical, earning a Grammy. And so everything's good. For the replies, we got a response from Sharon. The don't reply, we did not get a response from Sharon. So this is all looking good. I am ready to merge this. I'll go ahead and merge it into test. We've tested it. We reviewed the code. It looks good. So now we'll merge it. Ralph. So let's review. We just tried Ralph using the Vercel Ralph loop agent. It did ultimately write code. It did open up a pull request. So that's great. However, the iteration after the pull request has been opened was not the best. So my thinking is, if I'm going to use this, I'm going to give it a task, a very explicit task, let it run, and then I will be on review and updating the code to clean it up. So if I'm starting a new task, maybe I chuck it to Ralph first, let Ralph work on it from GitHub. That way Ralph opens up the pull request. And then after the pull request has been opened, then I go into Cursor, I take tasks that have already been started, and then I refine them to get them into a better place. Doesn't sound like a bad idea, so maybe that is my workflow moving forward. I was thinking that this was not necessarily the best, but if it works, it works. And if it saves me from having to do that initial thought of how's the task going to work, maybe that is what I'm going to do. So again, where I'm landing is I'll start a new task using the Ralph loop agent, using my CLI. Ralph loop agent will then open up a pull request for me. And once that pull has been opened, if there's anything I don't like in the review or in the testing, instead of iterating with Ralph, I do the iterations on my own. So Ralph does the initial iteration on any task. Any follow-up iterations I do as the coder. That has been how you can ship while you're sleeping using Vercel's Ralph loop agent CLI tool. Thank you